Yes, I did just get back from a walk, which is why I look like a new dad with a labradoodle. Get over it. AITAH for not paying it forward in the Starbucks drive-thru after the first person in front of me bought my coffee. I love this. You know what it is? I think it's just the idea that you're expected to do something, and then when you go, you know what? No. But it depends, too. I'm going to keep reading. Let's just keep reading. Okay, I'll start with the fact that I'd prefer to just order and pay for my own coffee and leave. Yeah, that's kind of what's expected of everything, I feel. Other than normal pleasantries like the usual, how's your day going? Fine and yours. I'd prefer not to converse with the individual in the drive-thru. It has happened a few times where the barista informs me that someone in front of me bought my coffee and queries if I'd like to do the same for the person behind me. Love the use of queries. I feel like inquires would be more correct. Does it make a difference? I don't know. Usually I have no problem doing it as I was going to pay for mine anyway. Today this happened and I said, sure, what's their total? I was handing her my credit card when she told me the total was $42 at Starbucks? What are you getting that's $42? And the thing is, like, maybe from the Starbucks barista's perspective, it looks bad, or the Starbucks cashier's perspective, it looks bad. But for the person behind, they don't know that there's a pay it forward train happening. They don't know. Like, if I got a car full of people, or if I'm picking up this sounds like a group order. You know what I mean? This sounds like, all right, I'm texting the group at work. What do you guys want? Blah, blah, blah. This person was expecting Venmo coming in, or like, it was a gift or something for the family. $42 is a lot, but that is a multi-purpose thing. And they are fully probably intending to pay for it themselves. So it's not like you're upsetting the person behind you. As far as they're concerned, they're still thinking that they're paying for their own drinks. I put my card away and said, I guess the streak ends with me today. The girl looked at me like she thought I was the biggest a-hole on the planet. No. Total contempt. In this instance, I don't care if people think I'm the a-hole, because I'm not going to ever pay $42 for an entire car's drinks and food because some other nice individual paid for my $4 cup. So to me, no, you're not the butthole. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you were pulling up in a Mercedes-Benz and you got all the money in the world, no, that's not you. That's not you. That's not your jive. And the person behind you is not expecting you to pay it forward. It's supposed to be like a nice little surprise. You know what? I bet that maybe the employees in there are like, let's see how long we can get the streak going today. We got us up to 8 cars in a row. Like maybe that's a little internal competition they're having for some weird reason. I don't know. But this is totally not. You are not the a-hole in any capacity. Let's see what the audience says. I've heard those are a mess for the staff to deal with, and agree with others that it's silly because everyone in line has the money for their order. I say, wow, what a surprise. That's so nice. I would like to pay it forward to the baristas, actually. And then I tip what I was going to pay for my coffee, or just tip a $5. That ends the chain, ends the pressure, and you're still doing something nice for someone, and you won't get a surprise $60 bill for coffee for someone's entire office. Right, exactly. It could be just an office order, if that's the order that was behind you. I do this every time. The chain ends with me, and the barista gets a tip equivalent to whatever the cost of my order was. I have heard baristas hate these chains, as they often cause confusion and errors. Those pay-it-forward chains are stupid. People who are in line to buy their whatever have the money to pay for it. If you want to actually pay it forward, buy a meal for someone who can't afford it. Donate to a food bank or other charitable organization, or something else that can actually make a difference. NTA. I think we're all in agreement here. You don't have to do that. You should never feel obligated to monetarily be generous to strangers. That's not something that you should feel pressure for, per se. Again, being charitable, great. To those in need, excellent, right? All of that stuff totally makes sense to me. But when it's something that these people don't even know that you're doing it, until they go up and they're like, oh, somebody paid for me, pay it forward? Sure, that's crazy. They spent $50. That's nuts. That's multiple hours of someone's life. You know what I'm saying? That means, let's round it up to 50. It was 42, but let's round it up for 50. If that person was getting paid $25 an hour, that person worked for some company for 2 hours of their entire life for essentially nothing, because that was a group order behind them. You know what I'm saying? Am I the asshole for not giving my girlfriend my social security number so she can run a background check on me? Hello? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna start off hot here, and I'm gonna say surprise microphone. But I'm also gonna say no. No, you are not the a-hole. Is my guess. But let's see what needs to be said here. I, 27 male, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, 31 female, for almost a year now. A year. I'm gonna pause right there. My thinking. She's getting close to thinking about marriage. She doesn't want something in your past to pop up if that occurs. So she wants to do a full background check. She wants to be sure if she says yes to your proposal. That's what I think is happening. And honestly, if it's been a year, would I give? No, I don't know. I think social security number is something like, if I'm booking a flight for you, or if you're booking a flight for me, yeah, I'll give it to you in passing. But giving it to you for a social, I don't know. Maybe I'd be like, I'll enter it, but I don't want you to have it, just in case something crazy goes down and you try to ruin my identity later. This evening, she sat me down and said she needs to have a serious conversation with me, and she asked for my social security number. I said, absolutely not. Why would you need that? Fair opener. She told me about her ex-boyfriend that was basically living a double life. He had a bunch of criminal charges in his past that he'd never told her about, and eventually exposed her to some sketchy and dangerous behavior before she broke things off after he cheated it. I said, okay, thank you for telling me that, but what does that have to do with my social security number? She said ever since then, she's had her friend that works for the federal government run background checks on people to make sure they're safe, and because our relationship is progressing, she needs to know if I'm a safe partner for her, so she wants my social security number to check my criminal history. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about it right now. I think it's worth talking about. I think if you see a marriage with this person, I guess, right? She's not asking you to enter it manually. She's asking you to give it to her so she can give it to her friend. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. This is a stalemate because I see both perspectives here. I don't know. She wants my SSN to check my criminal history. Now, for the record, I don't even have a parking ticket. I'm a nerd and a gym rat. All I do is work, go to school, play Dungeons and Dragons, come home, watch anime, rinse and repeat. So I don't care about a background check. She won't find anything. Okay, you don't care about it, but she cares about it. Does she need your social to do all of that? But I'm not giving out my social security number. I don't feel comfortable enough providing that to her friend. Okay, so you wouldn't meet up with a friend to and do it. Is there a workaround? This is my question now. Is there a workaround? Because I see where she's coming from. Totally see where he's coming from. Is there a workaround for this? That doesn't cost like a fortune. Let's keep going. When I said that, she got upset and said that I don't understand what women go through and it's about safety. And I admitted she's right. I have no idea what women go through, but that doesn't mean I'm giving out my social security number to a complete stranger, meaning her friend. She says he isn't a stranger. He's one of her best friends and married to a close friend of hers. And I said, honey, that's great, but I don't know him. I don't trust him because I don't know him. That is my information you're asking for. You can trust him with your personal information if you want, but no one I don't know is getting my social security number or critical details. It's just not happening. Maybe there's a website where you can like background check yourself or something, and you can manually input that information or something and just be like, look, no criminal history. And there's my name. I'm going to block out the social security, but that's my name. Is there something you could do yourself maybe and show her? Or is she going to be like, well, that's photoshopped? And then she's just paranoid. She obviously has past trauma and stuff. So can you blame her? No, you can't blame her, but or it's a little bringing old baggage into a new relationship. But it's also a safety thing, I guess. But if you haven't exhibited any behavior that would make her feel uncomfortable or unsafe by now, and it's been a year, like, I don't know, trust the process, right? Trust something. And she said that our relationship isn't going to be able to progress unless I give him my social security number because she needs to know that she's safe and she's offended that I don't trust her taste in friends. Yikes. Okay, so we're at ultimatum territory. Ultimatum. I think as a partner, you can't use yourself as a demonstration of like judgment of character always. You're not going to get away with that forever. Because like you will have blind spots that other people can see that you can't. That just exists. That's the truth. Even if you love and trust the other person and you trust their judgment most of the time, you can't always be like, well, they're my friend, so why do you have a problem? It's not always like that. I'm telling you. That does not give you full jurisdiction over my autonomy of like my security and my details and my, all that stuff. The data. People flip and they flop all the time. People love to flip and flop, okay? Everybody is a Birkenstock up in this bitch. You see what I'm saying? Even though they're more of a sandal. I got up and left at that point and told her I respect her concerns, but her past trauma doesn't give her the right to try and strong-arm me into giving out sensitive information to someone I don't know just because he works for the federal government and has access to a database. I used to work for the federal government, so I can say, where are you? Is this like scandal happening in the NSA or something? Like, what's going on, dude? I used to work for the federal government, so I can say from experience, everyone working there isn't some wonderful person. I'm assuming he's not a monster or anything, but just working for the feds doesn't prove anything to me. She called me insensitive and hasn't spoken to me since. Personally, I feel like she was gaslighting me into giving her what she wants, but I'm not sure. Interesting point. When did you work for the federal government? Because you can't be a felon, I don't think, and work for the federal government. But yeah, no, you shouldn't. I don't think you can have like a job on salary in that position if you were likely a danger to those around you. I don't think. You know what this could be? You know that TikTok series that was huge everywhere about this woman who's like, who the F did I marry? It was like a 50-part something thing and on TikTok. Anyway, I think this might be feeding a little bit into the paranoia too, because it's apparently not extremely uncommon for you to be with somebody who has a crazy history. I feel like that's scary, and I'm sorry that that's happening, but as far as giving my social security number out to a complete stranger, she can't just Google you? Can't you do that? Or like maybe just call the local police department and be like, hey, I just want to make sure that so-and-so doesn't have a history of a crime. Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a way to do this. Like, I think you're going to have to budge a little bit if this is your forever person. I'm curious what people are going to say. I'm a guy who leans towards budging. I'll budge a little bit. If I knew I was going to marry this person and I met up with this guy separately to do it, I'd probably just do it. Whatever. Not the asshole. I just had a background check completed. I've had them every 5-ish years for the last 20 because I volunteer with children. Okay. Some in state, some federal. I also have been screened by the government for a permit several times. I have never had to provide a social security number. So you don't even need a social security number to do a background check. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what the heck? So what is that about? What database do you have access to, sir? So it's a long con. She could be a con artist. For a year? That's crazy commitment. Her government friend is committing a felony. NTA, you want no part of this. Uh-oh. Oopsies. Doing a felony. Okay, so that's a felony. Okay, so let me say this then. I very clearly was bamboozled. I would have been bamboozled. I would have been got. I would have been got, seemingly, based on these comments. Yeah, you know what? I was saying that the whole time anyway. I was saying it looked fishy, wasn't I? Wasn't I saying that this seems strange? Huh, guys? You were there. You guys were there. You remember me saying that. Right? I should trust my social security number with someone who commits felonies by abusing their federal access to records? Nope! NTA! I was just about to say the same thing. My sister-in-law works for the government. Besides, you can find just about anything by typing someone's name in on the right or wrong website and find out just about anything you want to know. NTA, you don't even know if she's telling you the truth. She could be stealing your social security number for all you know. Run away. Clearly, she isn't willing to address her trust issues. That's true. Even if she wasn't like doing a crime or whatever, she has trust issues. She needs therapy, assuming everyone is a criminal and you need proof otherwise, is incredibly toxic. Yes. Nope, absolutely not. It has scam written all over it. I think we've all agreed on this from the beginning, right? We've all said that this is weird and bad. Yeah, I totally was that this whole time. So now that we're all on the same page, let's do another, there's an update to this. After reading the comments I've been getting over the last few days, I decided to call her on New Year's Eve and give things one last chance because I'm the type of person that needs to know I did everything I could before I walk away from a relationship. And some people said she has valid concerns. She just went about them the wrong way, which made sense. All right, benefit of the doubt, starting from a good place. They're probably in love. I told her, I understand and respect your need to ensure your safety, but I'm not willing to potentially compromise my safety to make you feel safe by handing over my social security number to someone I don't know and don't trust. And it's illegal for him to even use a federal database for personal reasons. So that's out. Love that. That is exactly the compromise that I was thinking about. So love that. Let's see what happens. She refused and said that she has chosen a background check and that's having her friend do it because she knows that she can trust him. That is so weird. That is so backwards. You're having your friend do it so because you can trust him, but you've been with me for a year? That sucks. You just wasted a year of your life. So I said, if that's how you feel and you won't budge, then the issue here is trust, and I'm not willing to stay in a relationship with a woman that doesn't trust me because of some that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not paying for another man's sins, and I'm not giving you my social security number because your ex was a criminal. She started crying and asking why I can't understand that it's not about me, it's about her. And I said, you made it about me when you asked for my social security number. She got pissed and she started accusing me of lying about caring about her safety and saying if I really cared, then I'd have no problem doing this because I don't understand how vulnerable women are in society. So I said I was willing to work with you up to a reasonable point, but now you're just trying to manipulate me and I don't feel safe being with you anymore. This is totally fair. She's being completely unreasonable at this point because I think him being like, all right, pick a service, I'll do it, but I'm not providing my SSN. I'll give everything else as fair game. And also, if you worked for the federal government, wouldn't you be able to do that stuff with just an address anyway? Wouldn't you be able to do it just with a name? I don't feel safe being with you anymore because if this is how you react when you don't get your way about having my social security number, what happens the next time we have a major disagreement or a serious situation come up? Are you going to keep crying to try and get your way or throw out another ultimatum to try and force me into doing what you want? She started saying that as a man, I can't understand what it's like to go through life as a woman and have to be afraid, and that this is what she has to do for her safety and security, and I need to just respect that and give her what she needs for her comfort. Yeah, that's weird. You're pulling you're pulling all the strings. You're pulling gender into it. You're really desperate in this attempt. I was like, I tried to compromise. You wouldn't accept it. There's nothing more to say here. And to be clear, I wasn't exactly calm. I have severe anxiety, so this was a really hard conversation for me to have. I was actively pacing around my house and sweating and forcing words out the entire time. Boo, that sucks. Then she started crying and asking about New Year's because we were supposed to spend it with her parents. I said, you should have thought about that before you try to strong-arm me into getting your way. This isn't and everyone stood up and applauded moment, but that's just how things went. I hung up, and now we're over. Yeah, she's strong-arming you. And also the fact that you've been together for a full year, and she's thinking the relationship's progressing, wow, and she's also trusting this other guy, a friend of hers, over you, so much so that she wants to give him your social security number. I don't know. It just seems a little weird. Just seems fishy, Obviously, I'm hurt, but I'm realizing I dodged a bullet because there's no reason shit should have gotten this freaking messy. And before anyone tries to jump me in the comments, again, I offered to pay for the check. She refused because it wasn't the test she wanted. I feel like I made a good faith effort to resolve things. I agree. Hate to ring in the new year without a kiss under the mistletoe, but it is what it is. Kiss under a mistletoe? Isn't that Christmas? Do you need a mistletoe to kiss on New Year's? I don't know if she really is that concerned I'm some lunatic criminal or if she's trying to scam me, like a lot of you said. Either way, it is over now. It sucks, dude, because there's something biological in me and a lot of people out there where, you see a woman crying and you're like, how do I fix this? I will do anything to fix this. And there's that balance where you see a woman crying and there's a party, all of you wants to be like, I want to fix it. But then she goes, just be unsafe for me while she's crying. Just do something that puts you at tremendous risk. I think everybody's just got to choose where their personal boundaries are, what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do. So that way, if a very, beautiful woman is crying to you about something, you don't accidentally trip and lose your identity for the rest of your life and tank your credit score and am never able to buy a car or rent an apartment or buy a house for the rest of your life. Kind of a tricky trade-off there. She didn't want your SSN for a background check. She wanted it to commit financial fraud, most likely. I keep forgetting that people out there exist like that. It's not just in movies. It's real. People will do a long con. Blows my mind. The fact that you could be with somebody for over a year, and then suddenly, boom, they flip a switch and you're screwed. You're screwed. Good for you for ending things. She sounds cuckoo bananas if she isn't a con artist. I'm leaning towards con artist. Okay, so everybody thinks that this is Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie. What is the name of that movie? My brain is ass right now. I think it's because I didn't have enough caffeine. Caffeine, baby. Caffeine, my baby needs some caffeine, baby. Caffeine, say baby needs some caffeine, baby. Caffeine, say baby needs some caffeine, baby. AITA wife for saying yes to my boyfriend's public proposal and then turning him down in private. Nope. The story is juicy, so I'm going to keep reading it, but I've already decided. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for about 3 years. That's a good amount of time. That's you're getting close. You're getting close to proposal time around there, right? Things have been good, but I've been clear that I'm not ready for marriage just yet. Then what are we even talking about? If she said she's not ready, if she's been clear, that's it. Well, a few weeks ago, we went to a big party hosted by his family for his dad's 60th. Okay, so we took his dad's 60th birthday and made it about this. I noticed that he was acting a little nervous, but didn't think much of it. Then during the event, he got everyone's attention, got down on one knee, and proposed to me in front of all of his friends and family. I was completely caught off guard and panicked. It is a bit of like an Ultra Ball in Pokemon. You just like, yeah! You know, like a public proposal is definitely you pulling out like a trick move up your sleeve to add social pressure and make it easier for her to say yes. Now, I've heard stories about how rejecting someone in public can humiliate them, and I really didn't want to do that to him, especially in front of everyone that he cares about. So I said yes in this moment. Everyone cheered, and he looked so happy. Sorry, something within me just hated every second of that. Oh, God! I felt horrible for misleading him, but I didn't know what else to do. After the party, on the car ride home, I told him privately and explained that while I love him, I'm not ready to get married yet, and that I only said yes to avoid embarrassing him in front of everyone. I thought being honest in private was the best thing to do. It is a good thing to do, I think. Whatever, dude. He brought this on himself. Ultimately, you've been clear that you're not ready for marriage just yet. I'm looking at it right here. I see the words right there. And I hope that you said that. I hope you said it expressly like that. You know, hey, just so you know, I don't think I'm ready for that. If it was like, a ring would be expensive. You know, if you were passive about it, I don't know. Like if you were really beating around the bush like that, then maybe he could have been confused, because us boys are really binary sometimes. We need a firm yes and a firm no. Like we need, you know, in order to ask this big question. But if he was straight up ignoring you saying that, then this is all on him. So his humiliation, his embarrassment is something that he put on himself. But congrats to you, though. You must be really special, because a guy wanting to put a ring on it this bad after 3 years, and he's 28, you got it going on. You got it going on, shouty. You know what I'm saying? You're like his daily dose of caffeine. He got really upset and said I'd humiliated him even more now because he has to go back and tell everyone that we're not actually engaged. He said I should have just said no at the party if that's how I felt. I feel terrible that I've hurt him and put him in this position, but I also feel like he put me on the spot in front of everyone without considering my feelings. Yep, that's what he did. We've yet to tell his family or anyone, and they keep calling and texting to give their congrats, which is upsetting him even more. And I'm seeing videos his friends posted online of him getting on one knee, so it's pretty public now. God, that sucks. You know that meme of like the worst thing she can say is no? This is giving me that. This is like, nah, it's a little further past that. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Should I have just said no in public, or was I right to spare him the embarrassment in the moment? If this is true, you know, I don't know. You were going to say no either way. There's no like fun way to break your arm. There's no painless way to do that. This guy broke his arm. It can heal and come back stronger, as bones do, I think. But it's not on you. He tripped, he fell, he broke his arm. Whether he did it inside or outside, in front of his family or in private, it's not your problem. So I'm curious what the comments have to say. Deleted. So far, so good. Everybody's saying NTA, but I wonder if the deleted ones also said that, or if they said something different. Unless you know they're going to say yes, never do it in public. It's that simple. NTA, this could have been written by me. If you see him as a future husband, then I'd recommend just having a long engagement instead of ending the engagement. Yeah, I guess that's something. I was thinking that too. Like you could just kind of let it be like, okay, sure, I'm agreeing currently to marry you, but the engagement can absolutely be off in the next couple of years. You know, that is also a backup option, I guess. Usually ending an engagement means the whole relationship is over, and him having to explain that you're not engaged but still together will raise a lot of questions. Not to mention, it will be a black mark against you in the eyes of his family and friends. If, however, you don't see yourself marrying him at all, then call it quits now. He wants marriage. If you don't want it or don't want it with him, then you have different ideas of the future. If you're not on board with ever marrying him, then it's cruel to just stay in a relationship with him. That's fair. I told my now husband a few days after the engagement that while I absolutely saw myself marrying him, I wasn't ready yet, and told him I wanted a long engagement. He understood, and we were engaged for 9 years before we eventually got married. We've now been married for 7 years and have 2 kids. You were engaged for 9 years? 9 years is a long time, girl. Got to speed that up. You got to have yourself some caffeine. I guess you're right. I didn't want to admit it because I love him, but there are a few internal reasons why I hesitate to marry him. First, my parents do not really approve him, and I know I'm a grown woman. I shouldn't care what they think, blah, blah, blah. They've sort of come around to him, but marriage is a big step, and I don't want to hear the whole, I don't want to see you make a decision that you're going to regret talk. Yeesh. Also, I'm only admitting this because Reddit is anonymous, but I kind of want him to get his life together just a little bit before we get married. He doesn't have a stable job yet, and I don't want to be that naggy girlfriend, but I just want us to be financially stable before we tie the knot and possibly bring kids into the world. We could survive with my salary as a vet, but maybe it's selfish of me, but I would like to see him contribute a bit more to the pot as well, so it doesn't feel like my money, but more our money. I don't know. Maybe that's my own problem, though. No, dog. That's so real. No, you just don't want to you don't want to feel trapped. You don't want to feel trapped. You like him. You got your whole life ahead of you. But if he doesn't have his stuff together, I get it. And there's other marriages out there that exist where you both are in the rough. You're in the mud. And then throughout the relationship, I'm going to work while you go to college and you get your degree, then you get a good job, and then I go to college and I get my degree. That's happened all over my family. My mom and dad were like that. My sister and her husband are like that. That happens too. You can stair step together. Have each other's backs. That is a thing. That is an option. He doesn't have to have all of his stuff together right now, but he does have to have aspirations too. That's important. Aspirations are extremely important in this situation. Does he have those? If not, if he doesn't, step up, move on. Set a timeline you want to see what happens. 1 year, 10 years, your call. Just make certain you don't get pregnant. That was a crazy last sentence, but it does make sense. This person has a really interesting perspective. They say, years ago, I lost a relationship with a girl I really cared about because she waited until we were breaking up to tell me all of the issues. I told her that all I wanted to do was make her happy, and had she just spoke her mind, I could have made changes. But she had already decided she was done when she told me all of this, so there was nothing I can do. Maybe that's true. I'm certainly that way, where I'll bookmark issues until they all boil up and I don't communicate them, and then I'll feel like this relationship has to end, He's 28. If he's so fragile that you can't tell him these things, nor has he done enough to be stable by now, it's not going to happen. I disagree with the second part. He's not done enough to be stable by now. People are getting their shit together later and later in life. Now, it's just a byproduct of rising housing costs, the job market sucks, and a recession that's soon to come. Stable is subjective, but yeah, no, you got to be able to take the hits. You got to be able to take feedback. And TA, not a close question. He should know before he does something like that. And honestly, I think he was trying to manipulate you. It didn't work. I don't know. Manipulation, maybe he was trying to lock it down and be like, she'll get it. She doesn't know what she wants. She'll get it. And TA, also, he hijacked his father's birthday and made it about him and you. Not cool. I wonder if it was his father's birthday request, maybe, because that's weird, dude. I wouldn't do that. There's no world where I would be like, my dad's celebrating his such and such birthday. I think it's time to propose. That's such a weird thing. Fellas, put your listening ears on in a relationship. Listen for the clues. Write them down. Write them down in your notes app. Write them down in your journal. Be like, no, yes, no, not ready, yes. Fun fact, you can literally write down, this is her mom's birthday. This is her dad's birthday. This is her brother's birthday. This is her sister's birthday. This is her birthday. Sometimes you can listen and just record it later in a little notes app or something. Watch what happens, because you just review that once every month or something, just to check in, make sure that you got them details unlocked. She's going to be very impressed, because she's going to feel like, wow, he really listens to me. I don't do that, though. Here's a song for the outro. Take a look at the Patreon. There is stuff over there, like behind the scenes footage and questions and answers. Yeah, it's really fun. Take a look at the Patreon. Take a look at the Patreon. It's really fun. There's a lot of footage.